Hello, y'all. Blue Steel from Gainesville, Florida, down in the swamp. Y'all know I've been running a story about the Ormond Beach and Daytona Beach police chiefs where they made a news release and they called First Amendment auditors anti-Semitic, Jew-hating Nazis. And it's all, on the, I've done quite a few segments. A lot of people watched it. Okay, this is Sheriff Mike Shitwood from Volusia County, okay? Now, I want you to pay special close attention. I'll be stopping this several times and iterating on several subject matter that comes up. This, I'll be announcing in a minute the news station. It's News 6, 6 Click. This is on YouTube. I'll show you the header. Anyway, what I want to iterate on is a couple of subject matters. I'll be pausing through it. Please be patient. This is the guy, one of the guys that they got for this. He's not a First Amendment auditor or an activist or a cop watcher. Chitwood on hate crimes. You have to excuse me, I'm not working with any real material. This is my television off my Xbox. Okay, so that's him. They served a warrant. I believe it was New Jersey.
Extradited.
All right, here we go. It's going to be over in just a second.
So our suspect here, Richard Golden, is getting airfare and boarding complimentary of Volusia County. Whether he fights extradition or not is up to him. Once he's extradited, he will be housed at the happiest place on earth, the Volusia County Branch Jail. I want to thank South Brunswick, New Jersey PD, the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office, the FBI, not only here in Daytona, but in New Jersey, task force members, the Central Florida Intelligence Exchange, who notified.
Okay, that's a new one on me. The Central Florida Intelligence Exchange. We'll be listening to that. Okay, well, I got it paused. This is Watch Live, Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood provides an update on hate crimes. It's a few days old, 4 days old. I wanted it to play, get their clicks and views. It got 3,600 before I commented on it.
Us about the threats that were coming in.
So let's hear him again.
I want to thank South Brunswick, New Jersey PD, the Middlesex County Prosecutor.
That's where he came from. South Brunswick, New Jersey. This is not a First Amendment auditor. We're First Amendment auditors, cop watchers. We stand for police and government accountability. We are the #1 enemy. All we do is hold our phone sideways against the police when we see them. And we're their #1 enemy. That's why the New Smyrna Beach. You're going to see all this come into play in just a minute. I'm going to iterate how it goes.
Office, the FBI, not only here in Daytona, but in New Jersey, task force members, the Central Florida Intelligence Exchange, who notified us about the threats that were coming in about me after we held the press conference about the GDL. And I would be remiss if I didn't really point out the State Attorney's Office, R.J. Larissa, his investigators who actually did the investigation. We just provided a little bit of assistance, but it was really the State Attorney that did this. And I'll share with you what our
Look at him. Does anybody know him as a First Amendment auditor, cop watcher?
basically, here's how it starts. On February 23rd, CFIX notifies us about a death threat to put a bullet in my head.
Okay, CFIX, that's the Central Florida Intelligence. Okay, that's what he's talking in reference to. So they responded most ricky-tick. They're garnering all this intel and information from the wire, from the internet. Now, they immediately informed him personally. Now, that's the how rapid the intelligence is. I never heard of this organization before. I want people to look into it, but they are rapid, I guess real time, and so they informed Sheriff Chitwood. I wonder if they're watching us, especially like the Porter Farmer Channel, Rogue Nation when he's live, all these other channels that go live. The First Lady of Florida, actor Amanda. I wonder if they're watching it anyway. So you heard it here twice, 3 times before we get done. But long story short, just pay attention to this as it goes. Now he received garnered real-time intelligence. Now all this is happening in real time, right? All right. So, and this is like his after actions review of the whole scenario.
It was called 4chan chat. And the chat from like 5 o'clock at night until midnight basically was about me and my press conference attacking the GDL. And obviously the folks on that chat, while they may not be here in Florida.
Okay, the GDL has nothing to do with First Amendment auditors, cop watchers, or any type of activism on that side of the spectrum. All right? These are radicalists. They threaten law enforcement. We don't do that. These were not anyone that could be considered a First Amendment auditor, right? All right, I'm going to carry on.
Havoc. They certainly are online listening to the vile, disgusting, violence rhetoric that they're spewing forth. So at around 5:35 p.m., in response, February 23rd, CFIX notifies us about a death threat to put a bullet in my head on it was called 4chan chat. And the chat from like 5 o'clock at night until midnight basically was about me and my press conference attacking the GDL. And obviously the folks on that chat, while they may not be here in Florida wreaking havoc, they certainly are online listening to the vile, disgusting, violence rhetoric that they're spewing forth. So at around 5:35 p.m., in response to my attacking the GDL and putting up their pictures and saying I stand with my Jewish friends, this is what his response is. Just shoot Chitwood in the head, he stops being a problem. They have to find a new guy to be the new problem. But shooting Chitwood in the head solves the immediate problem permanently. Just shoot Chitwood in the head, murder him. The post was made in that online 4chan chat was what it was made at. Once we were notified by CFIX, the state attorney's office automatically picked it up. They started.
Once again, there's the Central Florida Intelligence. He just made it, okay? And they did like a handoff to the state attorney's office is what he's saying, and relieved Volusia County of their investigation because they immediately picked this up. Now, how many times do the police threaten us and arrest us with the charge with no forbearance on it, and they end up having to release us? Not me, but others. And we don't get the kind of response that this man got for this matter. And they're kidnapping. I mean, it never comes out, that they kidnap. But just look at all the response and all the money for this man right here. I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with what they did. And I want them to protect our sheriff, especially our law enforcement. And I'm sure all cop watchers and activists and auditors want the same. But I just want to say how real-time this situation developed and how they divulged their intelligence gathering opportunities and how they employ them so speedfastly. That the most important thing to take away from here is when we have charges like I do against this is worse. These were only threats. I have actual charges, that hold merit against those that I accused down at the district attorney's office, including the district attorney. Now, these people do all this real time. How come we can't get the response? How come we get the runaround? How come it's always displayed? We don't ask to be run around. We always get the runaround, though, from the blue line. All right? I just wanted people to see how this situation develops.
Getting search warrants, they got an IP address. The IP address that led to the South Brunswick, New Jersey address. They then got subpoenas from Comcast to get in there. And then eventually detectives went on March the 1st and confronted him. They discovered that he's anti-government, he's anti-law enforcement, and like every other active shooter that we come across is a marginalized member of society who spends hours and hours and hours in these extremist chat rooms. So when questioned by the detectives, he advised that he did make the post about wanting to shoot Chipwood online at this 4chan chat. After there was discussion on this chat line, that I'm a cross-dresser and I visit small children. Now, that is straight out of this punk, cowardly GDL Facebook. That's what they do. And this just goes to the bigger picture. When you look at how synagogues get shot up, or churches get shot up, or schools get shot up, extremism is extremism. Here's a clown sitting in his bedroom who's indoctrinated by this bullshit and thinks that that's what...
Okay, now, just think about what he said, okay? Now, these two, the Ormond Beach Police Chief, Chief Godfrey, and Chief Young from the Daytona Beach Police. Chief Young is the one that made this statement. All right, so this is like the elected official of the area. This is the sheriff of Volusia County. Ormond and Daytona are in Volusia County. They had the same experiences. 3 different experiences. 2 of them come out with First Amendment auditors. This guy, just listen to how he says, how he talks, and then he's talking about extremists. Like, that's how they labeled us. They labeled auditors, First Amendment auditors, the same as Nazis. Those Nazi, anti-Semitic, Jew-hating wannabes up there on the walkway and in Ormond, they called them First Amendment auditors for a reason. Now look at how they think and listen to what he's talking about extremists, because that's what they view us as.
To solve the problem is to put a bullet in my head. Well, remove me from the equation. What happened to the synagogue in Pittsburgh? Somebody indoctrinated by this bullshit goes in and wipes out people in a synagogue. The black church, the black grocery store, the predominantly black grocery store in Buffalo, New York. Some white supremacist listening to this crap decides he's going to go in and wipe out black people. So it goes down the line, whether it's a school, whether it's a synagogue, whether it's a mosque. Extremism is extremism is extremism. And I cannot wait.
Is that the indoctrination that you have against First Amendment auditors and cop watchers because we want police and government accountability? Is that how you think of us? Because you've grouped us together now. And this Central Florida Intelligence, I believe they might have employed some of their tactics and doctrine and critical analysis, and they might be rendered up as a potential where this rhetoric come from against First Amendment auditors, because I'm sure this is some kind of task force.
To meet him when he gets off the plane, because one of the first faces he's going to see welcoming him to Volusia County and the Volusia County jail the happiest place on earth is going to be Midland. The charge is threat of serious bodily injury or death, written communication. It's a felony. His bond, when he gets here, will be $100,000 bail. And again, at the state attorney's office, from the minute we were notified by CFIX on February 23rd, the state attorney said, "You guys are out of this. We got it." And I'm really grateful that he has done that. There are some other subpoenas.
That was a CFIX he referred to them again, and their association to the attorney general and the state. So we've heard it 3 times now at least.
That we have out for some other parts of this investigation. I don't know how they're going to play out. We have to wait till the information comes back from the subpoenas. So I'm going to transition very quickly that while all of this is transpiring, we have 3 high school students who decide, and there's no doubt based on all the media coverage of GDL and anti-Semitism, they think it's going to be really cool to go in and deface the bathroom walls in one of the high schools with swastikas on the walls. So when we decided how to turn a negative into a positive and dust off an old classic of not in my county scumbag, we decided to go to war against anti-Semitism, put up these t-shirts, put up these mugs for Lucia Strong. All the money that we raise is going to be used to educate the youth that I come across in my job about anti-Semitism. And what we're going to ask the judge to do with these 3 little cherubs is that when sentencing time comes, part of their sentence is they have to go to the Holocaust Museum in Tampa, since they really didn't understand, is what they told us. We really didn't understand that was offensive. Well, you're teenagers in high school, you should understand that. So we're going to start educating them.
So, now you see the mindset, okay? Now, they understand they have an intelligence network outside of their intelligence gathering network that's organic to their departments. They've garnered all this intelligence. They've associated it back to these kids, all right? All that being said, what if First Amendment auditors, cop watchers, activists that stand for police accountability and government accountability and responsibility have some kids hold their cell phone sideways? Is that the way it's going to be? Because we've already been classified as Nazis, Jew-hating, anti-Semitic wannabe. That's what they classified them as. First Amendment auditors put that on us. Now, do you see where he's going with this?
Because the best way...
Oh, and they generated funds. I mean, I'm all for it. Hey, I hate hate, My grandfather was killed by the Nazis. I don't like any of this shit. But I want you to understand where they're going with this.
And I said this at the press conference earlier, the best way to defeat or at least contain extremism is through unity and sunshine. And the best way to make sure that we don't have it is education. Education eradicates hate. And that's what our goal is. So you can go online, all the proceeds go to helping educate the next generation that this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable what we saw in our community.
What about educating the next generation about our rights and freedoms and how that your policing for profit impinges upon the integrity of that topic of our rights? How about that?
Community. We're never going to stand for it in our community. And like I said in our first press conference, when it was all over, what impressed me the most is to watch the diversity that stood up here. Whether it was a Muslim standing next to a Jew, next to somebody from the Sikh faith, the black clergy, Catholic, non-believer, Republican, Democrat, independent, non-party affiliates, the whole gambit of Volusia County came together to stand behind our Jewish community, and we're going to continue to do that. And it's not going away. Yesterday or 2 days ago at Stanford University, all the Jewish...
And that's the way it should be, but nobody stands up for the poor black person that's walking out of the hood and gets confronted by law enforcement. We see it all the time. You're not supposed to be out here. Where are you going? You look suspicious. Show me your identification. Blah, blah, blah. The whole 9 yards. Get get up against the car, you're not complying, we're going to get you for, or just like how we document it all the time with ourselves and the subject matter that we show on our channels. But we're not good enough, you know. Just look how they talk, you know. And this is the sheriff of Volusia County. This is where when your kids go to spring break, this is what happens. And we already seen the other day what goes on in Galveston during spring break. It was cold out. They didn't have many people going there, so they started picking on the local populace. We see how that goes, you know. So let me carry on.
Folks in the dorm were singled out, and their doors to their room were vandalized. And I do have to correct one thing I said in the very first press conference. The shooting that occurred out in LA, where one of these GDL members stalked and opened fire on 2 Orthodox Jews, was 2 days prior to the Speedway incident. I said it was 2 days after that incident. So anybody have any questions?
What happens if he does waive the extradition? What do you do next?
Then he'll be brought here quicker. I can't give you how long that would be, but it would be pretty quick. If he fights us, it could take up to 3 months before, you know, New Jersey and Florida get together and make him, force him to come down. I would venture to say the fact that he admitted to the detectives what he did, I mean, I kind of think that, you know, he probably just waive extradition.
Sheriff, this is the first arrest in that threat directly made to you, but you also mentioned that you have other subpoenas there.
We have subpoenas out for other social media.
Is this in relation to this statement?
It's a different incident, but it's in relation to the GDL.
This is my first time hearing someone directly threatening a cop, particularly in our area. Do you know, Sheriff, are you the first one to get those kind of death threats in relation to hate groups?
In relation to hate groups, yes. I mean, I had back when I was in Daytona, we had a guy who threatened to kill the captain of detectives, a detective, and me, and claimed he was in Tuscaloosa Park with a sniper rifle. And interesting, that judge granted a protection order against us for the guy who threatened us. I never understood the judge on that one, but he was probably busy dressing up as Abraham Lincoln and not paying attention to what was going on at the time. So those of us who have been here a long time know what I'm talking about. What is interesting in this is, you know, you focus on Volusia County, because that's my job. But to see the email and the phone calls that come in from Vegas, Albany, New York, San Francisco, you name it, they're coming in from all over the place. So it's scary to think that there's pockets of these cowardly scumbags that operate anonymously. Again, his postings were anonymous. That's how he sent, when he was posting, and they all were posting in the chat, everything is anonymous. They don't want to be identified. And I guess if I looked like this, I really wouldn't want to be identified being 38 years old and living in that.
Okay, so they don't want to be identified. But First Amendment auditors and activists and cop watchers, we're always identified. At least by our channel title. You know, everybody says, you know, I'm good citizen, I'm Rogue Nation, I'm, you know, whoever, you know.
The mother's back bedroom with no job. Yes, sir.
Sheriff Chip with Chris Collins, musicandbeach.com. Does Richard Golden have any known history living in or visiting Volusia County?
He does not. He does not. But he's going to have a history now.
What connection does he have to you then? I mean, is it just because you're...
The connection was that he watches, and he's in this GDL. They have their own YouTube channel. They do these things where you can call into video chats. There's all stuff that under the radar we don't know about. He's in those chat rooms. And the connection was he didn't like what I said. And he followed their thing. This guy, the sheriff in Volusia County, a cross-gender, he's a pedophile. He's a pedophile. I mean, somebody called my daughter, my middle daughter, and said to her, you know, your father's a pedophile. We hacked into his computer. There's pictures of your kids with your father and all this other shit. And my daughter called me, Dad, what's going on? I said, babe, you don't have kids. So if you don't have kids, they don't know who you are. They got your number. Just don't answer your damn phone.
Is that scary?
Now, we just heard that, and that happens every day on the internet to us. Someone gets hassled by a troll. They say all kinds of shit. I mean, all my comments are full of troll comments. So when we look at this special individual right here, who's been groomed 30 years, I would say, on the job, because he come from up, I believe, in Philadelphia. He was a Philly cop, and he followed his way to Daytona, and he was a Daytona police chief. Now he's the Volusia County Sheriff, the county where Daytona is located. Anyway, all this happened for that. And look at all, I mean, because we got stacks and stacks of papers in with the FBI, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the DOJ. All this, you know, is on slow but perpetual force by us, not by them. I mean, they do accept it. They do culture us, you know, that hit them with the hardest, wait till that comes along, or just mount it, you know, stack it. But just look at all the response that went into this.
You know, I mean, it's for them, not for me. It's mine. This is what I do for a living. I couldn't get two shits left. As I said before, I said, "Again, come get me." But you want to do anonymously and go after somebody's family or go after somebody's parents. They swatted my parents a couple weeks ago. 3 o'clock in the morning, called and said 2 people are dead. I'm in here armed. I'm going to kill the first cop that comes up. I'm going to kill myself. And they gave my parents' address.
Sheriff, you say you're going to protect the Jewish people here in the Volusia County. How exactly are you going to do that?
I think it's eyes and ears is the big thing. You know, we're going to meet tomorrow again with them, listen to their concerns. How do they target hardening their homes? How do they target hardening their places of worship and their schools? And how do they protect themselves from the scourge of social media? You know, we live in a different world, man. It's not hard to find.
The scourge of social media. Now, you know what his two, and I'm going to call them subordinates, because Ormond Beach and Daytona would be part of the subordinate law force. He's the elected law official, the only one in the county, besides the district attorneys. But that's him. So you know they all meet together, and he's probably the proctor or the mentor, and he establishes the doctrine, the mindset, and this is, you know, this is it. Just, I mean, look at their response. We get that shit all the time. When we call to get help, do we get any? Negative. Look at me. I'm responding on their shit from Ormond Beach and Daytona. Do you think anybody's contacted me? No. Not even made an effort. Look how many attempts it took for me just to get the complaint form. Who the original sergeant said I had to have a charge right there, and he wasn't going to have a form sent to me. You heard all that. And this is the mindset. This is the doctrine. This is the leaders' intent.
Somebody's address and phone number, and then drop those horrible, incredibly leaflets in there that are just so offensive and obviously pushing somebody toward violence. That's what the concern of all this is. These punks don't have the guts to pull the trigger. But a guy like this guy, sitting at home, that's the kind of guy that would make a road trip.
Well, Christian, you say that the money that you collect selling his t-shirts and cups is going to go to the future, to dedicate the future. But what about right now?
Well, it's the kids now that we come in contact with. We have a youth foundation that their sole purpose is to give educational and cultural experiences to kids who will never have it before. So what better way than I have 3 kids, teenagers, who think drawing swastikas on school property is a cool thing to do. Well, maybe you need to go down and learn a little bit from it, and maybe that might change your mindset.
Okay, I wonder in that organization, and I'm not here to nitpick or critique, I'm going to cut this off in a second, but I want to say how many of those programs that we're talking about inform their population that they serve, these school-age kids, their rights, you know, their civil rights, their constitutional rights, anything, how to deal with police? No, I'm sure not. I've never looked at one of their itineraries, but off the cuff, I'll bet 50. All right. Now I want to